So I've told you guys many times before to save your resources or hoard them and use them at the right time to net more rewards from events and tournaments. So whether it be the shards or the gems, but there is unfortunately one resource here that I always find myself short on, and that is silver. So in today's video, I want to show you guys 3 ways to generate more. Let me first start by explaining what I mean by generating more silver. Yes, you do get silver as you play this game. You do your daily quests, weekly quests, monthly quests. There's always some silver in there. You do a campaign run, you get some silver in there. As you play the game, you will generate silver. I understand that. But there are a couple of things you can control which will technically allow you to generate a little bit more silver. And this can become really important when you're about to walk into a fusion, which, by the way, we will have in about 2 weeks. So a lot of you guys have asked me, how much silver do you need as you're going into a fusion? That's a hard question to answer because it really depends on, let's say, all the pieces of gear you have that are at level 15 ready to be ranked up to 16, or let's say 11 ready to rank up to 12. I usually say to walk in there with about 20 million. That's a value that I feel safe on. So for example, if I would look at my account today, I don't have enough. I'm not exactly ready, but I also know that I have more silver saved up, and I'm also going to generate a little bit more if I do the following things. So let's start with the first one. Events and tournaments, they are not all created equal. If you pay attention to this, you will see that sometimes you have some very accessible silver for minimal effort. So if you don't pay attention to this and you forget to push to, let's say, the next easy milestone, you might be missing out on some reasonable amounts of silver. Here's an example of the Dungeon Divers event we have ongoing right now. Here is then an example of a champion training event. We do see 2 milestones. We also have, for example, on a champion training tournament, we have a very accessible amount of silver on the first milestone. So I sometimes myself am guilty of this. I will skip a tournament entirely. I mean, like entirely, where I don't even bother trying to do it because it's in between fusion events. You're kind of tired, you're burnt out, you don't want to do this, but guys, that will matter in the long run. Here is an example of a Fire Night tournament, and let me finish with an example of a Summon Rush, which again, this is kind of a perfect example. This is very easy to do with a couple summons. You get silver, you even get gems and energy. So on an outside of a fusion event, Summon Rush, I always try to at least, let's say, reach those first couple of milestones. Let's move on to the next one, which, much like the events and tournaments, will take a little bit of time to generate this silver, but once you have certain teams going, you can in fact rely on this to generate quite a bit, and that is the Forge. It might seem pretty obvious, but in the Forge, as you craft this gear, you will most likely end up selling most of it. And I mean literally most of it. Depending on if you're a beginner player or endgame player, you're obviously going to perhaps keep more because it could be a big upgrade on your account. But for myself, I had started doing the stats of the crafting on my account, and I literally find myself, after crafting over like 2,000 pieces since this was implemented, keeping only about 2.5%, and I'm talking about useful pieces once they've been ranked up a little bit. All the rest is being sold, and there's probably millions and millions of silver in here of gear. So here's what you can do though for the Forge. Once you're progressing in the faction wars, at some point you will reach a stage where you want to basically just farm everything on auto. So if you have the ability to, let's say, farm some of the lower stages, good, but eventually if you can make it to stage 21, this will technically give you the same quality of glyphs, but it would give you more material for the Forge. Therefore, that would translate into more silver. So every now and then, if you are desperate for that silver, you can go to your Forge, or you can look at this number right here, and you can roughly estimate just how much silver is sleeping in the Forge right now. And obviously that translates to gear, so eventually you can kind of apply the same thing here. If you have a lot of extra gear just sitting there, you can clean this out. That is going to generate a whole lot of silver. So I'm pretty sure that just right now, looking at this number and the gear in my account, I probably have a 10 to 12 million just sitting there. Let's move on to the next one, which is now the fastest way for my account to generate more silver. This requires to be a little bit more end game, but if you would have the choice of, let's say, farming the campaign or specific dungeons, you would want to do the Spider's Den. technically the accessories you get from here sell for more. So simply put, your energy would be better spent in the spider dungeon than anywhere else to generate more silver. And then if you have a really fast team like this one right here, you can technically generate even more silver on a shorter period of time. So this is basically just transferring energy into silver. Good enough. But then you can also use your gems to generate more energy to then generate more silver. So if you're really desperate about to try to, let's say, complete a fusion and you need a little bit more silver, I would strongly suggest that you just kind of use this well-known method to farm faster. So it might seem very basic here, guys, but I've had the questions many times before. How do you manage your resource? How do you generate more? Basically, I rely on this to get more silver, and when I'm really short on something, I'm just gonna go for that spider's dungeon. When I feel that I'm not prepared for the fusion, I'm gonna spend the forge, I'm gonna clean up my gear, I'll generate more in there. And obviously, I always try to complete a little bit of the events and tournaments. So hopefully this will help some of you guys. This might be more of a beginner guide, but it does make a difference in the long run. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.